Welcome, everybody. Joe Tarnowski with ECRM here, and I have with me today Charley Orwig from DMA. He was one of the moderators of our Foodservice Thought Interaction Pod Roundtable discussions, and his topic was about what is here to stay and what's going to go away once the pandemic is done. So, Charley, thank you so much for moderating. And to start off, can you give a little overview of what the discussion was about with the participants?
Yeah, thanks so much for inviting me to do this, by the way, Joe. This is a great platform, great partnership. We had mostly suppliers today, a couple of operators, and when we talked about things that'll stay after the pandemic, a lot of discussion around third-party delivery and curbside delivery. I introduced the hypothesis that maybe third-party delivery isn't something that's going to stay afterwards. And both the operators and the suppliers in this discussion said, no, it's too important. It solves too many problems. Third-party delivery is absolutely something that they believe would be a post-pandemic trend that would stick.
Did anybody say that maybe they would do it differently afterwards, or were there learnings from the pandemic that they may be able to apply later on?
Yeah, I mean, the two things with third-party delivery are control of your own brand, and then obviously cost. And one of the trends that's happening now within the third-party players is this an option for almost a white label version of that service. It brings the cost down and it maintains at least the illusion of control of the brand. And so everybody mentioned that as a reason why they thought that would maintain relevance for that concept. Curbside delivery was another one, or curbside pickup was another trend that we thought might end up, going away after the pandemic, and that was also met with, a lot of discussion around, that's probably going to stay longer than we think. That there were definitely usage occasions there that made it make sense.
I think a lot of just consumers in general outside of food service are so used to delivery now. They switch to getting all their staples and food and household stuff. They've getting that online and they like it. And so I think just everybody is so much more used to the convenience of online that or ordering ahead that it's spilling over into food service.
Absolutely. One of the other topics we talked about was just this notion of innovation in general. What does innovation mean? It used to mean a whole bunch of different things when you talked about menu innovation, and now what the suppliers said is that innovation a lot of times now means more back of house necessarily than front of house. So rather than a new innovative or consumer eye-catching flavor, now it's performance back of the house. How can I, with new staff or staff that haven't been trained the same way that they were before, or that we need to be faster, all of those things, that they're getting pressure from operators to come forward with back of house savings as innovation, which I thought was an interesting perspective too.
Yeah, it's definitely, the pandemic has had operators really completely look at their business in a different way. And I'm sure certainly streamlining operations and financial operations they had a big lens on that too.
Absolutely.
Were there any surprises during the conversation?
Well, yeah, I thought it was interesting that comfort food as a trend. I thought that would be something that came up as a trend that's maybe waning a little bit, but it was brought up as something that is still relevant, and that one of the suppliers said that they were asked during the ECRM meetings today for some new items that could address comfort food. So I was surprised to hear that is still a trend even at this point.
What I was always curious about is, because especially over here in New York, where you have the outdoor dining, and for a while it's if you get an alcoholic beverage, you have to get a menu item with it. And I'm curious to know, and I don't know if you've talked about this, but whether that has impacted people's menus. You know, in other words, if you just want to go have some drinks with your friends, you're going to get the cheapest item on the menu, or French fries, and I know some places by me, they've had like special fruit plates or something that was just like $2, enough to qualify for something that's on the menu. So the regulations are met, but you're not spending $25 on the meal. So I'm just curious, whether it may be in your roundtable or just have you heard of anything like that?
I haven't. It certainly didn't come up today, but another trend that I suspect could fall into that was this idea of grab and go items. Mm-hmm. So low cost items that are easy to work into a menu that can be either an accompaniment for something like that. In this case, we were talking about something in the desserts category. Mm-hmm. So, that could fall into a sweet versus a savory type item in that regard.
Charlie, thank you so much for moderating the roundtable. Always good to chat with you. And I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thanks, Joe. You too. Thank you for the opportunity. Really appreciate it.